But we don't have to answer a single question that you ask. Yeah, no, we don't have to answer your questions.
You do.
No.
Officer Leonard was suspended.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Southern Draw Law. My name is James White, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, former police officer. Today's video will be pretty short as it's an update to one of my most popular videos I've done on my channel. I think right now it's sitting at close to 60,000 views. That video featured a Tennessee auditor that I'm sure most of my audience was already familiar with, named Miss Reba from the YouTube channel 51550. If you haven't seen the video, you're not familiar, let's watch the highlight reel here for some context.
There's usually not a car parked here. I wanted to speak with her and figure out what she was here, why she was here. That's all it's about.
I'm here every night, midnight at 1 o'clock.
Okay, you clean the building?
No, I'm here to fix this right here and carry it to Knox.
Okay.
Every night. Been doing this for 5 years.
You guys, look, I have no reason to believe that you're not telling me the truth, okay? All I need...
I promise you, I just unlocked that door with this key.
You have a key for the building?
Yeah, perfect. When you ain't got my...
Okay.
This is my job.
Okay. And
Some
again,
people haven't got it.
I believe you, I do too. Now, understand from my point of view,
I get it.
being the zone officer, I'm here all the time. I normally don't see a car parked here. It's just a little bit weird. That's called reasonable suspicion in my job. Okay? When I have that, I have the right to talk to people, ask a couple questions, figure out what's going on, and as long as everything checks out, we all go on our way.
But we don't have to answer a single
You
question
do.
that you
You're
ask.
wrong.
Yeah, no, we don't have to answer your questions.
You do.
No.
As a police officer, I have that authority.
You can ask me anything you want, but I'm not obliged to tell you anything.
Okay. Do you have your ID on you? Can I please have it? Okay. Sir, do you know who she is? Is she with you?
Yeah, she's my sister.
Please do not.
I'm gonna hang on until I get her. If she gives me her ID, the sooner we can all be on our way.
I ain't done nothing.
What's your suspicion now? So he's explained everything to you, so what are your suspicions about me?
As a police officer, when I'm on a call, and I have reasonable suspicion, I have the right to ID everyone I'm talking
Well,
to.
I don't have to ID
Let
to
me
you
explain
unless
everything
you
and stop interrupting me.
unless you charge me with a separate crime. You cannot get me for failure to ID because it's none of your business.
The longer you interrupt me, the longer we're going to be here, all right?
Don't talk to me like I'm a child.
Well, then don't act like one.
I'm not.
Here we go. Again, ready? I have his ID. Because I have reasonable
Good.
suspicion to talk to you, I need your ID. The sooner you give it to me, the sooner we can all be on our way. That's all this is.
Call your supervisor.
Okay, give me your ID and I will.
Can you call your supervisor, please? What's your name, badge number, employee number?
Officer Moss. He's
I'm
training.
asking him.
He is training.
Thank you.
Officer Moss. 4011184.
Thank you.
Are you
Can
guys
you please
sovereign
call your
citizens or
supervisor?
something? Is that what this is?
Soft sit, not
Sovereign
not
citizen.
bowing to your will does not make somebody a soft sit.
I do my job. She said
And I
she
believe
got it.
you. You know why she's being so difficult with me?
I have no idea.
Okay, all I need is your ID.
It's none of your business.
Ma'am, what's your ID? Where is it? Okay. 17.
Okay, so just to give you a little more context, Miss Reba and her brother were at a business in the Nashville metro area after the business was closed. It's obviously dark. I think there's a little bit more of the story that comes out. It's between 12 and 1 a.m. They were there because Reba was helping her brother, who has keyed access to the building and picks up items from that particular location, as he's done for the past 5 years, and he then transports those items to Knoxville as part of his job, which again he has done for 5 years. After they were there for a short period of time, Nashville Metro Officer Leonard showed up, decided their presence at the building after hours was suspicious, and started doing an investigation, and that investigation included demanding ID from both people. Of course, Miss Reba was having none of it, and they had a standoff. Reba's brother did provide ID and proved that he had keyed access to the building and that he had opened the door. That, however, was not enough for Officer Leonard to be satisfied because he had already decided that his ego would not allow his suspicions to be dispelled. So he and Reba ultimately get into this pissing battle, and she eventually prevailed, and he left and did not get ID from her. Now, Miss Reba has followed up in the complaint process and yesterday posted a video as an update on the status of her complaint on her channel. I wanted to show it to you guys because, again, I did the original story and covered this. This is the update that Miss Reba posted yesterday.
Complaint about an officer around September, and I wanted to get the outcome of my complaint.
Sure, yeah. Can I get your name?
I go by Reba, R-E-B-A.
And who is the officer that you made the complaint on? Do you know, or was it an unknown officer?
It was Leonard, Lehnert. I think it's how you spell it. I think it might be Timothy.
Okay. All right. Can I put you on hold for just a moment, or can I do a little bit of research? Reba, are you still there?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So apparently, that case has been concluded, and Officer Leonard was suspended 5 days with 2 different charges. He had a deficient or inefficient performance of duties.
Wait a minute. Wait. I'm trying to write this down. I have concluded. Okay. Concluded. Officer Leonard, he was suspended 5 days without pay, right?
Was 5 days. Whenever they're suspended, they can choose to either take it without pay or they can take vacation days.
Okay, or paid time off?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it comes out they have to use their vacation days
To cover
they
it?
lose those vacation days because of the time off. It ends up being the same thing.
Yeah. Okay.
They just don't. The difference is like he doesn't go in unpaid status for a little bit, but he does lose days.
Yeah. And what were the 2 charges?
The 2 charges that he was sustained for was a deficient or inefficient performance of duties
Deficient performance of duties. Okay.
and knowledge of law.
Lack of or not using it?
Knowledge. Well, that's the policy is 5.110, knowledge of law, which more or less is, I can actually read you what the policy says on that.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I love that.
Stand by 1 second. Knowledge of law simply says sworn personnel are required to remain knowledgeable on all matters that pertain to criminal process. Information concerning such will be available to all personnel through official memorandum, in-service training, and roll call training.
Okay.
An officer acting in objective good faith in any criminal process situation will be presumed not to have violated this order.
Okay.
So more or less just saying that we need to keep up to date on what the laws are and things like that in just criminal process.
Right, exactly. So this won't happen. So this kind of stuff doesn't happen, you know?
Ideally, yes.
Well, that's great. I don't think I have any other questions. Do you have anything else? Do you have any more?
No.
You have
No.
anything?
Yeah, you should, unless this case was like an anonymous complainant, which I remember whenever this case came in. Usually we contact the complainant, let them know, but I don't know if we had a way to contact you or not.
I thought I gave you I thought I gave you my phone number, but it's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
I don't mind calling back.
Yeah, typically once these cases become concluded, the administrative assistants are really good about sending out letters, kind of disposition letters about what'll happen with the case.
Yeah.
So, but no, it has been officially concluded.
Great. Thank you so much.
Investigation sustained the charges.
Great. Thank you so much, Officer Gibson.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
You do too. Bye-bye.
So super happy that Reba followed up and that Officer Lehnert was held accountable. A lot of times people either don't actually file complaints or they don't follow up on them, and they make threats about suing people and complaining, but they never actually do it. And so the officers are never held to account. Now, you might have noticed that Officer Gibson, in his explanation of the charges and how the complaint went down for Reba, mentioned something called a knowledge of laws policy. And then he read verbatim what the policy was, and that had sort of an interesting component to it. You may not have caught it, but when Officer Gibson read the policy, he said that if the officer was acting in objectively good faith, there would be a presumption that the officer did not violate the policy. And this is one of those cases where it kind of changed after he was there a little bit, because I think you can make the argument that at least initially, Lehnert was acting objectively in good faith when he conducted the original investigation. You know, he's what they call a zone officer, which means he's responsible for a particular area. Some other departments might call it a beat. We call it a beat on our department. But, you know, he's at a business that he's sort of responsible for patrolling, and he notices a vehicle that he's never seen before. Now, it may be because he comes at different times or whatever the situation is, but it was okay for him to investigate that. There's nothing wrong with making spot checks on your beat or where something's out of the ordinary, taking the steps to do an investigation and figure out what's going on. And then you want to document the results of the investigation just in case the property owner calls in and says, hey, look, something got stolen or, something got vandalized or whatever. At least you have something you can fall back on and say, yeah, our officer actually checked that last night at such and such time. Where I think that good faith dissipated and then when transitioned into like this unreasonable detention is where Lainert sort of refused to accept information that should have dispelled the suspicion of a reasonable officer in a similar situation. I think objectively, you show up, you're operating on good faith, you ask the guy what his purpose for being there is, and when he says, I work here and I have for 5 years and I'll show you I have keyed access, well, the encounter really is over at that point. Your suspicion should have been dispelled. The issue arises, and this really transitions into a space where it's unreasonable, where Lainert refuses to accept justifiable information that would give a perfectly good explanation as to why this gentleman is there. And then, just as Ms. Reba pointed out in the original video, it becomes about like an ego battle between the officer and the person refusing to identify. And that's where I think this thing shifted from good to bad faith. And it ended up resulting in Ms. Reba being unlawfully detained for a while for no reason. Now, considering what Nashville police officers make, I don't really think it's too much to ask that they be held to a standard of knowing the law and not weaponizing their badge to exert authority over someone, for one, that they don't have, and for two, for some arbitrary reason. The Metro Nashville Police website lists the current officer's salary between $60,000 for an officer in training and around $95,000 for an officer with 10 years experience and a bachelor's degree. But even if the officer never gets a bachelor's degree, the top out for a 10-year officer is still $89,000. Now, I know that Nashville is an expensive place to live, but you can do pretty well 25, 30 miles outside of Nashville on $90,000 to $95,000 a year. It's certainly nothing to sneeze at. And for a little bit of perspective, I can tell you from personal experience that the assistant district attorneys working at the Nashville DA's office start at $63,000 a year with a $100,000 law degree. And that's only because they got a $10,000 raise in the last legislative cycle for July of 2023. Before that, they were starting at $53,000. So that's something to think about. I'm not making a comment one way or the other. I'm just saying police officer makes the same thing as a lawyer. It's kind of strange, right? But Ms. Reba did a good job with this, and she was not willing to accept that they were just going to do whatever they wanted to do and not have any accountability. In closing, I think these complaints and the lawsuits are the only real way to make change in police practices. Now, I know there's going to be comments, and appropriately so, and I saw these comments on Reba's page, and they're valid, that it's a sham that an officer suspended without pay can elect to use paid time off or vacation days in lieu of actually having to suffer through that lack of pay. And I completely agree that it's bogus. I can tell you, and it won't be a surprise to you guys, I have a quick wit and I'm a bit of a smartass, and that don't work great in a supervisor-subordinate dynamic. And I have myself been suspended from work without pay in a previous life. And when you're raising a family and relying on a particular income, even if it's $95,000 a year, it sucks to have to shift things around and figure out which bills are going to be late because you'll unexpectedly have less money coming in. It is sort of an instant mechanism for holding an officer accountable that they will actually feel. There aren't that many better teachers in life than having to take some amenity away from your family that you can unexpectedly no longer afford to have because of your behavior at work. Having to look your spouse or your kid in the eye, knowing that you've just disappointed them and that you can't do what you previously thought you could do because of what you did at work is heavy. I understand that Officer Gibson said it would all work out the same, but the truth is, it won't. Having to choose not to take a vacation in 18 months is not the same as having to decide how you're going to work through an unexpected financial crisis. Hell, when I was an officer, we worked alternating 12-hour shifts and only worked about 14 or 15 days a month. If I took a vacation in my short week, I could make the same money and only use 2 vacation days and be off for a whole week. Their website at Nashville Metro PD says that each officer gets around 20 vacation days a year. 20 vacation days a year, depending on how their shifts are, could equal anywhere between 4 weeks of vacation a year if you work 5 days a week, or if you get short weeks like what I just described, you could have up to 10 weeks of vacation. I mean, who even has the money to travel for 10 weeks out of the year and to still actually work in a regular job? So obviously that would not have the same deterrent effect, unless of course there would be a situation where the officers already used all of their time and they really don't have the option of using paid days off and they would be forced to go without the pay. But having a couple 100,000 people see you make an ass of yourself on YouTube, like has happened over the course of close to 60,000 people watching it on my page and well over 100,000 people watching it between her numerous videos about it, that will have an added deterrent effect. And I sincerely hope that Lainert takes a different approach to dealing with people and learns from the mistake. Ultimately, it's a sustained complaint that will stay with him and be in his personnel file, and that's at least something that she can be somewhat satisfied with. I think where these guys get so off track is that they get so stuck on getting get an ID, it literally is like a drug, that they sort of forget the whole purpose of identifying someone to begin with. If you don't have a crime to attach a person to, you don't have any reason to know who they are. Now, obviously, if you go out there and you ID the person, and it later turns out that there was a burglary 30 minutes before you showed up, you at least know who you're dealing with, and that's the purpose of a field interview and IDing someone in the field. But, and I say this all the time, they go immediately to this place where they start ordering people to do things without considering what's going to happen or what their legal recourse is going to be when push comes to shove and the person ultimately says no or challenges them or calls their bluff. So, I mean, a pretty good common sense plan is to first understand the sort of outermost limits of what your legal authority is and what gives you that authority, the Constitution and the law, and then, try to make it a practice of not ordering people to do things that you can't justifiably force them to do. Their title is law enforcement. Force is in the title. That means that ultimately every law that an officer enforces has to be supported by an authorization to use force to gain compliance. So if you wouldn't be able to use force to get it, you probably need to take a different approach than demanding it and trying to cop-splain and manipulate and intimidate people into compliance. Increasingly, there are more and more people like Reba who know that what you're holding as pocket cards is a freaking 7-2 offsuit, and by knowing the law, she's holding the straight flush. You deciding to go all in when she knows you don't have the cards is not going to get someone who is informed about the law to fold their hand, and that's what we had here. So Officer Lainert needs to learn how to read the table a little bit, read the room, understand the lay of the land, understand what his constitutional and legal authority is, and then he won't find himself in these situations. And that goes for every officer out there who is the subject of one of the videos that we see out here sort of displaying bad police conduct every single day. So I think everybody should head over to Miss Reba's channel, praise her for doing great work, thank her for sharing the update. As of right now, the score is Miss Reba 1 and Nashville Metro nothing. Anyway, that's all for this one, guys. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe and leave a comment on the video. Now, if you haven't seen the previous video and you want to watch my full breakdown on the original story, I'll leave it in the end card here on the screen. Until I see you again, take care. Always film your interactions with the police and keep your evidence to yourself.